about the injury. It's not about the injury. It's about the recovery. It's about the recovery.
Hi folks, Paul Padda with you on the Paul Padda podcast with another wonderful episode coming to you from Red Chimp Studios here in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm really honored to have a guest that is, well, not just a guest on the show, but a personal friend.
Thank you,
It's
Paul.
Mr. Steve Sanson of Veterans in Politics International, correct?
It was great being here, Paul. Thank you so much.
VIPI. Well, it's an honor to have you, Steve.
Thank you so much for the
I've
invite.
known you for quite a while, and I've always respected and admired your activism in the community. You are a fearless warrior for warrior
boy.
for veterans and for people that often are marginalized and don't get enough attention. I know you've been involved in a whole bunch of different things.
Yes.
For a lot of my viewers who may not know you or may not know what you've done in the past, we want to always start each segment talking a little bit about folks' backgrounds.
Sure.
Tell us, where are you from originally? Are you a native of Vegas? What brought you to Vegas? What do you love about Vegas? How long have you been in Las Vegas?
I'm from East LA. No.
Okay.
Remember the Cheech and Chong?
Yeah, I do.
I was born in Kingston, Jamaica,
Wow.
and I was probably a month shy from my 6th birthday.
Maybe because I was raised in the Virgin Islands, that's why you and I have that connection, right?
You see?
The
You
Caribbean.
See? We like the Caribbean breeze.
Every
and the
man,
air
everything
and the ocean.
cool and breeze.
Cool runnings, man. So I was raised in New York City.
Yeah.
In the Bronx, and it was a little hectic over there. You know how the Bronx is. Sometimes, but
A gentle neighborhood.
not so much. I think the Bronx got me ready for the Marine Corps
Yeah,
because
I believe it.
I joined the Marine Corps in '85,
Mm-hmm.
and I did a 4-year contract, and then they asked me to stick around a little bit longer. So I signed up for another 2, so I did 6. I'm a Gulf War veteran,
Wow.
100% service-connected disabled vet to boot.
Yeah.
When I got out the Marine Corps in '91, I had trouble dealing with you people, civilians.
You know what? I know you're making a joke, but it's funny you say that because let me ask you a question. I think for a lot of people who have not served,
Right.
but even there's something almost about the Marine Corps. Like I've never seen the bond I've seen between folks who've been in Marines. I mean, a Marine to another Marine, it's almost like a brotherhood and
It's
a sisterhood,
brotherhood
right?
and a
Now,
sisterhood.
yeah, it's amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You ever been in a bar fight and I'll tell you a short story.
I'm a lawyer, so I usually try to talk my way out of problems.
I saw a bar fight with 2 guys, and then the 2 guys and 3 guys was attacking this one guy, and then they ripped off his shirt, in the struggle, and his Marine Corps tattoo showed.
Oh,
right?
wow. Yeah.
Oh my God! The whole bar came and just beat up the other 3 guys.
Don't mess with the Marines. It's basically the lesson to be learned. Yeah.
Well, it was a great lesson, and I enjoy watching it. In fact, it was very interesting at times, though. But it happens quite often that Marines always come to the rescue of other Marines.
I see that. I've seen it in my own life. I've just observed that bond. I think that there's so many organizations that people belong to or experiences, but there's something almost mythical about not just serving your country in the military. That's, of course, obviously very noble and respectable.
Right.
But the Marine Corps is on a whole different level. Like even other folks in the military, I see guys from Air Force talk about, or Marines make fun of guys from Air Force, Navy. They're like, no, the Marines are where it's at.
Well, the other branches of service, the Army, Navy, and Air Force, they got about 2 million, and the Marine Corps is about 300,000.
Yeah,
active.
so you guys are the elite. Yeah.
So we're very small, and we keep it that way because nobody can match up to us.
And technically, are the Marines part of the Army?
No, the Marines is actually Department of the Navy.
I see. Okay, that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
Part of the Navy. I don't know why, but that's how it is. And we all have our own representation as far as generals in the part of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, but the Marine Corps is Department of the Navy. So
storming or Saving Private Ryan, that scene in World War II where you have these young men landing on the beaches of Normandy.
Right.
Those were the Marines, I believe.
Right.
And that was such a powerful movie to think of, these 18-year-old boys who were being called upon to become men at that moment and storming a beach and just taking fire and being killed right on the spot. Amazing. Amazing.
Well, a lot of people don't understand how that works. You know, they're in their own world. You know, Metropolitan Police Department. It does, switching the subjects a little bit, but Metropolitan Police Department. When I was having a conversation with Doug Gillespie when he was sheriff, he was schooling me that when an officer draws his weapon and he discharges it, right, automatic 6 months paid administrative leave. So I'm like, wow, just discharging it.
Yeah.
Not even shooting anything, just discharging it. 6 months paid administrative leave. So I said, what happens to those combat veterans that are shooting people every single day?
Yeah.
Where are their administrative leave?
Right.
They don't have any. And then you expect them to come back in civilian society and all of a sudden, turn it off and be all gracious and be diplomatic and be charismatic and don't have any type of violence or PTSD or rage in their system. That's just it's just ludicrous if you think like that.
It's crazy. I agree.
But what I just back to '91, I just couldn't handle civilians because I felt that they were entitled. I felt that they didn't respect the American flag. A lot of them. That a lot of conversations I've had with people when they were trying to burn the flag, they were telling me, hey, we could burn the flag because you guys fought for our right to come over here and burn the flag. And I'm like, what about all those brothers and sisters, Americans that died for that flag you're burning?
Right.
And then they go, oh, it's just a piece of cloth. I'm like, a piece of cloth? Is that how you look at it, as a piece of cloth? It's her symbol. It's her nation is what we fight for. It's part of our liberty and a republic and a democracy,
Yeah.
So they didn't understand that. So I couldn't deal with them, so I joined the Army.
You went back in, yeah.
I went in the Army, and I tell people, and they think I'm joking, but I'm serious. I went in the Army to actually relax.
Jeez.
It was to kind of get me ready for the civilian world.
Yeah.
And it's just like smoking cigarettes. If you're smoking a pack a day and all of a sudden you go cold turkey, you get trembles. And so it was the same way with coming out of the Marine Corps for me.
Yeah.
And I joined the Army. I was in the Army for 6 years. And I made my way to Vegas from California.
Yeah.
So I left California in '95, and I was in Vegas November of '95. So I've been here 20-something years. And I remember when I first moved to Vegas, it was only 865,000 people, I think it was.
You've seen a lot of change.
Oh yeah, you could go from Flamingo on the 215 down the East Sahara. Well, it wasn't no Flamingo on 215 back then, but you go across the sand. But you could get down the East Sahara in about 10 minutes.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
But now you can't do that because of all.
Well, obviously, you love this town. You've raised your children here.
Town.
You've had a family here. Right. And what else is it about Vegas in terms of if someone was to ask you, what is it of all the cities in this country, what makes you love Vegas so much?
Well, you know something, I am the type of person I hate when I have restrictions. People tell me what to do, or I have restrictions. I remember when I just came back from Okinawa.
You're about 6'2", right? I don't think there's a lot of people that tell you what to do.
I remember when I just came back from Okinawa, and I was in Pacific Beach somewhere in California.
Yeah.
And it was around 1:30, 1:40. And at that time, I was drinking, I forget what I was drinking. All of a sudden the lights come on. I was in the club, lights come on. They start snatching your drinks out of your hand, and the DJ go, last call for alcohol. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Last call for alcohol? I'm a grown-ass man, You tell me when I can or can't drink. I'll go to the 7-Eleven. Go to the 7-Eleven, big chain across the whole door. I'm like, that's crazy, The reason why I like Vegas so much is because there's no restrictions.
Yeah. 24/7 city.
24/7. You could walk in a club on a Tuesday night, packed. not that I walk in clubs on Tuesday night anymore.
I was going to say, yeah.
It's packed, and you could go and you
But if you wanted to, you could do it. That's the point.
Yeah. It's just the fact knowing that I could do it if I want to. that's the benefit I love about it.
I actually kind of know what you're talking about, and I can kind of relate to that. It's really interesting for those of us, I think anyone watching who has who lives here,
Right.
and then you go to another town and you see how everything gets dark by 10:30.
Yeah.
It's really odd. You don't realize.
Like Boulder City.
Yeah, well, I guess, but even any other places like LA or other places, cities kind of close down, and it's kind of strange. You kind of pick up on that Vegas is really, you're right, 24/7.
I remember me and my son wanted to get sushi, and it was around 3 o'clock in the morning.
And you
we
can't
were
do
in
that anywhere else.
Centennial,
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want sushi, and I was craving it, and we found a place that was open.
Yeah.
I mean, only in Vegas, right?
Only in Vegas,
So
that's
that's one of the reasons why I love this town so much. And you could interact with your elected officials.
Right.
is
Well,
one of the
that's a
big
great
ones.
point, and
Yeah.
you obviously do. We'll get into that, but that's actually a great point. The accessibility of politicians here, it being a smaller city, a smaller state. California, the idea that you could go to an event and meet a U.S. senator, it's a much harder thing to do. Whereas
Right.
here,
In
you
New
know,
York.
yeah, New York, of course,
A
places
lot of people
like that.
can't even reach out to their governor.
Yeah, that's
you know,
right.
But you know, those are some of the things I really love about Vegas, and plus the camaraderie, the been here so long, you know, you make all those acquaintances, and you know, and I like that.
Yeah.
It feels good. It feels like a community.
The other thing that really struck me about Vegas when I moved here and having lived here is how welcoming it is. It's I mean, every city has its hierarchy, I suppose, but New York or California, it's really tough to break in. Like for me to leave the government, start my own law firm, that was very possible here. It'd be very difficult in other cities where you have to have all kinds of connections and referral sources, and it's very competitive, and there's generations of families.
Right.
I mean, do we have that in Vegas? Yes, but this is a city of transplants. I mean, everybody, it seems, is from somewhere else.
Right.
There are natives, of course, and when you meet them, they're kind of as exotic and rare as, you know.
And strange, some of them.
But people say, you know, it's not a good city to raise your kids. I couldn't disagree. I've met so many people born and raised in Vegas who are so well adjusted, doctors, lawyers, people who, you know, some of them are just pillars of the community. This is a town like any other. Yes, the big thing is we have gambling. So what? That's actually what makes it such a great town, in my opinion.
And you know what? It's a choice. You don't need to gamble if you don't want to gamble.
That's right, exactly.
You know?
Life is all about
and if
choices.
you can't resist, go
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Go somewhere else.
You know.
All right, we're going to get into veterans and politics, but we're going to take a little break. This is as part of the show where we throw out some pointers for folks out there who hopefully can benefit from some of my legal tips. And we call it Paul Padda for the people.
Is that the paid commercial?
Yes. Not a paid commercial. With that, we'll take a break. Paul Padda for the people. Hi folks, Paul Padda of Paul Padda Law. Paul Padda for the people with another great pointer. You know, I often get asked, what is premises liability? What does that mean? It sounds like a very fancy term. Well, you've probably heard personal injury attorneys refer to it in a more simple way, and they call it a slip and fall case. So let's say you're at a casino, or let's say you're at some kind of a business establishment, and there's water on the floor, or there's some kind of liquid, or maybe they mopped it too much and put some kind of shine on the floor, and it's so slippery and a person falls and slips and falls there and injures themselves. That's what's called a premises liability case. You know, the owner of a property or someone who maintains a commercial premises owes the public a duty of care, a duty to maintain the premises in a safe manner. And so, you know, if you're injured on commercial property, you might have a case. These are very hard cases because liability is always at issue, but they are significant cases, and we have handled a lot of those cases here at Paul Padda Law with great results for our clients. Premises liability is just a fancy term for slip and fall. At Paul Padda Law, we handle a lot of these cases. Give us a call and let us know if we can help you. Welcome back, folks, to the Paul Padda Podcast. I'm here with Steve Sanson of Veterans and Politics International.
Thank you.
If those of us who live here in Las Vegas are very familiar with your organization because it's been at the forefront of so many things. I mean, judicial elections, municipal, statewide, federal elections. You guys are very actively involved in, I think, the vetting process and then making an endorsement. But it's always from the perspective of what's good for veterans, which is great. It's a wonderful organization.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about what is VIPI?
Well, veterans, I Veterans in Politics started in 1992. And in 2004, I became a part of it. I was their media spokesman. And in 2005, the president of Veterans in Politics kind of talked out of turn, and they kind of spun it and used it against them.
No.
And then they asked me to run for the seat.
Okay.
And I ran for the seat in 2005 and got elected. And I've been doing it ever since. We have three different branches that we focus on. We're not the veterans group that does care packages and file your VA claim. There's hundreds of those groups.
Sure.
We're a little bit more intense than that. We champion legislations for veterans' rights.
You're like a lobbying group in essence, right?
Right.
A vocal spokesman for veterans' causes.
Absolutely. So we champion legislation for veterans' rights, and we not just champion it. In some respect, we go ahead and we help write it. We go lobby for it. We testify for it. We go through the whole ringer until the governor signs it into law.
That's awesome.
Such example is the Veterans Court, and that was one of our big ones. And the other one is don't take service-connected disability benefits to use for spousal support.
Yeah.
Which there's a federal law that covers that, but you had to tell these judges to you have to make a state law for the judges to follow the federal law.
Yeah.
I thought that was pathetic. But and the last part, and the other part we do, we vet candidates for elected seats. We have endorsed panel. All the candidates running for the seat, no matter what party affiliation they are, no matter how much money they have, no matter what their name recognition is.
Yeah.
And we videotape it unedited so that the people can make a conscious decision when they go to the voting booth. And then we also expose public corruption, which is the one I'm the man on the hill all by myself, because there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people throughout the years came to me and goes, I wanted to say that, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you said it. And,
I know there are a lot of people who feel that way.
There's a lot of people that way, especially dealing with these family court judges, because there's a lot of lawyers that appear before the judges and they don't want to rock the boat with the judge.
That's true.
So they're glad when organizations like ours come out and actually unroot it. But then there's some attorneys that are just corrupt in the system, and they don't want you to rock the boat because they're making money hand over fist by doing what they do, which is their own corruption with the judges, and I think that's pathetic.
Yeah.
But those are the three different branches that we do, Veterans in Politics. Do.
Well, I know Governor Sisolak is a good friend of yours. In fact, he told me that. How do you feel he's been?
He actually said that.
He told me that. He said Steve Sanson is a very good friend of mine. I said, oh, that's good.
I've known the governor.
It's a good friend to have.
I've known the governor when he was a regent.
Okay.
For the state before he even became county commissioner, and him and I go back many years.
How has he been on veterans issues so far?
Well,
or is it too early to say?
It's too early to tell, Paul, because I really don't know at this point. I know he was a strong advocate for the lounge at McCarran Airport.
That's a great thing. Yeah.
And the thing was that everybody was kicking it to the curb, say we don't need a USO here at McCarran, and for various reasons. One reason was we already have a mobile one at Nellis, and I'm like, what does that have to do with McCarran?
Exactly.
And the other one was there was not enough foot traffic through the airport at McCarran, which that was a farce. And the other one was because Vegas has gambling. So what does that have anything to do with the troops moving in and out the airport?
Right.
So the USO didn't want nothing to do with it. So we went to Governor Sisolak, at the time was County Commissioner Sisolak, and he was getting us the USO lounge. It wasn't a USO lounge. He was getting us a lounge from one of the airliners that I think was American Airlines or something like that, and we were going to call it the military hospitality lounge. And then all of a sudden, Rory Reed was on the county commissioner then, and I guess he made a call to Daddy, and all of a sudden we have a USO.
That's awesome. That's good though.
And
That's
it was during the Sharon Angle and Harry Reid election there for Senate, so he had to pull out the stops all of a sudden.
Irrespective of the motives, the cause was good.
The cause is good,
and the result is good.
It doesn't matter how we got there, as long as we got there, and that's great. And because we were talking about Commissioner Sisolak at the time, and he, to show you how involved he was, he was very involved in that.
So Nevada, I mean, especially Las Vegas, I know has a very large veterans population here.
About 339.
That's a lot. So what do you think are some of the biggest issues facing veterans here in Southern Nevada? I know that's a very open-ended question.
I think, you know, like I asked Vice President Pence when he was running for VP, I said to him, I said there's about 145,000 veterans that are incarcerated in federal and state penitentiaries. I said, what is a Trump-Pence administration going to do to kind of train them and facilitate their needs instead of incarcerate them, fix whatever issues that they have. And I forget what he told me. So I guess what I'm saying to you, the problem we have here in Vegas with our veterans is that there's not enough treatment facilities for them. Whether it's drug and alcohol, whether it's mental, whether it's something, it's just easier just to incarcerate them, put them in jail so we could get that $140 grant per individual that the federal government give us for a prison system. And I think that's pathetic.
You know what, just speaking now as an average citizen, I agree with that. I think that we are a democracy, but we make a contract, and the contract is that if you are willing to join the military services, whichever one, you're willing to put your life on the line for this country at a moment's notice, right? That's the understanding. When you go into the military, you may be called to take up arms and defend this nation. I think then the nation has a lifelong obligation to you for that. And I think that it's really sad and pathetic, you're absolutely right, that veterans don't get the full support that they deserve. Now, we can always have a debate in society about whether the VA is a hospital or it should be private facilities. I personally think scrap the VA and give veterans the same insurance that members of Congress and the U.S. Senate have. They should be able to go to any doctor. No, I really believe that. And I think they deserve gold.
I think there should be term limits for Congress and
well, I agree with that
Senate
too.
As well. And judges.
Yeah.
And judges. I think a lot of these judges that overstay their welcome. They stay there too long,
There's
and all
a lot
of a
of
sudden
issues.
They feel that they're God, so to speak, and they have that complex. And a lot of people go, "Oh no, that's not true." Yeah, right. It is true. It's like one judge I had on my show. Sorry to interrupt you, Paul. And she was saying that, hey, you know, judges work more than 40 hours a week. So I said, with all due respect, how do you know that?
Yeah, exactly. Are you checking up on everyone else?
You're just talking about your courtroom. I get you for that, but how do you know all 52 district court judges, plus there's going to be another 6, going to be 58 district court judges all work a full 40-hour week? How do you know that? You don't.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother show that we will have one day.
That's a whole nother show.
But you brought up a point on PTSD and mental health issues, and to me, I think in this society, we really underplay mental health issues. There's a stigma with it. There was a gentleman who was a Marine who ran for Congress and announced that he had gone to therapy for PTSD, and a lot of people judged him for it. He ended up having to withdraw from the race. I think he's going to run again. I think we've come a long way in the last 5 years, but you're 100% correct. There is not enough of recognition that people, especially who serve, I mean, you guys, especially those of you who've seen combat, you deal with stuff, right? There's no shame in that.
And then the people that haven't had nothing to do with it, never wore the uniform, like to beat down the people that actually wore the uniform.
It's ridiculous.
See what I'm talking about, the civilians?
I know, it is. No, I get it. I understand that.
Not all of them are like that, though, but, you know, there are a selected few.
There's people out there with all kinds of views. But today being 9/11, obviously a very historic day in our nation's history, and it's really a very solemn day. Tell me, as a veteran, what are your feelings about today?
Well, it's a day that's going to live in history, and it's personal to me because I had many family members in the Twin Towers at the time it was collapsing. I didn't lose any of them, thank God for that. But my father was down there, and he was helping with the cleanup. He worked for a company called Remco, and they do all kind of metal and whatever cleaning they do. But he was very involved in the cleanup down there, and he succumbed to his injuries last year. So it's a real personal issue.
Very sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's a real thank you. And it's a real personal issue, but you know, how do you have? I mean, if somebody was to tell me years ago that
Yeah.
jet engines was going to crash into the Twin Towers and bring it down, I was thinking they were crazy.
Yeah.
But you know what? It tells you that anything is impossible.
Anything could happen.
Anything could happen at any given time and at any given day, and your whole world could just change forever.
Yeah.
So that's what that tells you. And since we're talking about 9/11, I just wanted to put my condolence out there for all the family members and people that lost loved ones and people that have loved ones that are going through medical issues right now because of 9/11. My full condolence.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's insane that as a society, sometimes we spend so much money on nonsense, and then you see these congressional hearings, and I know the comedian Jon Stewart was at the forefront of some, just kind of more of a spokesman, but really highlighting the fact that a lot of these first responders, and just like what you were talking about with your father, people don't understand the after effects. We all know about the folks who tragically died on that day, but what about all the people who went there to either save other people or do the cleanup, all of that? They had to deal with the remnants, the fallout, the chemicals, the toxic waste, and what effect that had on them. And those people are now still struggling to get treatment. To me, it's crazy as a society sometimes where our priorities seem so misplaced. That seems like such an easy issue. It seems like such an easy issue.
It's a no-brainer, but
a no-brainer, you would think.
Yet they overthink these things.
I don't get it. No. So here in Nevada, coming back to that theme, people who serve their country and who are dealing. I know the VA has a beautiful, brand new, spanking facility over in North Las Vegas. It's a very nice looking hospital. Have you had experience at that facility as a veteran? Do you have thoughts about it? I know you have a friend named Rob Lauer who certainly has a lot of thoughts about it. But speaking as a veteran, what do you think?
Well, I go there quite often, and a lot of the stuff that I used to do at the VA is now being channeled out to the civilian populace. Like my dental, all of a sudden now it's out in the civilian populace.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, it's a good. I love my new dentist.
Okay, good.
So it's a good thing.
So it gives you more choice.
Right. I don't feel like I'm on the assembly line.
Right.
And it's a little bit more of a nurturing and caring a little bit more, and they want to make sure all the problems, all the issues are taken care of.
Yeah.
But I've been moved out to a lot of my VA medical stuff has been moved out to civilians.
Okay.
So.
But that's a good thing, I think.
So I like. And
I think any time that people have more choice is a good thing, right?
And I think President Trump signed that into law a few months ago.
I see. Wow, that's good.
So it's working out for me, and hopefully it's working out for a lot of other vets.
What about other types of treatment that you get at the VA? I mean, I've heard complaints that if it's a major surgery, it becomes a real delayed process. Whatnot. What if you're a veteran, let's say, and you're really frustrated with kind of medical care you're getting? What can an average veteran living here in Las Vegas do?
Well, for one, if you,
I guess the first thing is call Steve Sanson, right?
Well, I don't want my phone to blow up any more than it already is. But anyways, but yeah, they could call me. But if you're going to the VA and you're not seeing somebody for over 30 days, if they can't fit you in and it's 30 days later, you have a choice to opt out and go into, I think it's Veterans Choice is the name of that program.
I see.
So I've been doing a lot of it, and there's a lot of veterans that are moving out to the Veterans Choice. It probably in the next 15, 20 years, the VA probably won't even exist anymore if they keep moving all the veterans out to Veterans Choice.
Right.
So that might happen.
Maybe that's the idea. They're transitioning.
Maybe that's what they're trying to do, because the money they put into building the building and staffing it and they're not bringing in a lot of quality doctors. Yeah. A lot of doctors that really care about their practice. They're not bringing in a lot of those doctors. And
or maybe the doctors are caring, but they just are overwhelmed with
probably.
That's really. I mean, I think it's a tough job too. On the other hand, they don't always get the resources, despite we might think they have the resources.
And maybe their hands are tied.
Yeah.
Maybe they want to do this treatment, and the VA, honchos are saying, no, you can't do that treatment. It's not.
Well, I started the show by saying you were a warrior for veterans. I know that's true,
right.
And I know you have helped a lot of folks out there in the veteran community.
And civilians.
And civilians, of course, that's true. If someone's watching and they want to get in touch with you through VIPI, or there's a veteran out there who says, hey, there's an issue that's not being highlighted, how can those folks reach you?
Well, they could call me at 702-283-8088, or they could go on to the veteransinpolitics.org website.
Okay, so what's the web handle for that? Is that vipi.org?
No, veteransinpolitics.org.
Oh, veteransinpolitics.org.
Yeah, IN.
Okay.
Some people go A&D, but it's not. It's IN.
Okay.
Veterans and Politics is plural.
Awesome.
So it's veteransinpolitics.org, or they could call me at 702-283-8088, and I'm easy to find.
I know.
And when somebody says, hey, I didn't get your number, right? All you got to do is Google my name, and it just pops out.
That is true.
So I'm like,
there are
yeah,
pages
right.
and pages on Google with your name.
Yes, yes. So, yeah.
Steve, thank you so much for
Thank
your
you, Paul.
service
I appreciate
to this
you having me
country
on.
as a veteran. Thank
you.
you for everything you do through your organization.
And you yourself.
Well, I appreciate that.
Because
but
I know you help a lot of veterans, too.
I try to. I think
Yeah.
it's the right thing to do.
It
and
is.
These are good folks, man.
Yeah.
I believe very strongly in supporting our vets because I think you guys have really, guys and gals, I should say,
Right.
veterans are people who have served their country, and I
Right.
have the highest respect for that.
And you helped out with that Sri Lanka thing not too long
I
ago.
appreciate
And thank
that.
you for doing that. That
Thank
was
you.
very humble and noble of you to do that
No,
as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for coming on the
Thank you,
show,
sir.
and we'll definitely have to have you back because there are so many topics that we didn't cover.
Hey, you got my number.
I know where to find you. Folks, thank you for joining us on another episode of the Paul Padda Podcast. Until next time, stay cool, stay safe, and we'll see you then. Thank you.
It's not about